Okay, so we are live. Hi, Sanjeevani.
Hi Shreya, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How is your Sunday going? How are the blood sugars?
Blood sugars are pretty much well today.
That's great. That's great.
Enjoying my Sunday. How about
Um,
you? What do you had for
Same.
your
Oh,
special?
I had a low carb mango chia pudding in the afternoon.
Oh, nice,
So
nice.
I'm pretty well fed on a Sunday also.
Great.
Mm. Okay, amazing. So we are live. Um,
I guess we'll wait for 10 minutes to start then.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we can start. Um,
Okay.
Cool. So we'll start talking. Let me introduce the topic for today. And so we're almost in June. We're at the end of May, and schools are about to start. So we thought that this would be an important topic to sort of bring up at this time and conduct a workshop on this. So I'm Shreya. I'm a play experience designer. I've had LADA slash type 1 diabetes for about 10 years now. And in the last few years, I've been a part of conducting awareness programs with Blue Circle for schools and corporates and other settings so that we can have more learning spaces that are aware of type 1 diabetes and are inclusive of type 1 diabetes. Sanjeevni, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'll introduce myself. So I'm Sanjivani. I'm a type 1 diabetic since 26 years right now. And I work as a counselor with the students with special needs and ADHD and autism. So this is my major study, and I thought like we can just enlighten how things go with the students. What are the challenges facing with the kids with type 1 as with the special needs?
Amazing. I think this is going to be a great session and a very important session for all the parents. So, today we're going to, like, generally, we'll start talking about mental health in children with diabetes and how certain mental health traits could also lead to or, mimic a different sort of neurodivergent traits. So, we'll start with a little bit on how does living with type 1 affect a child's mental health on a day-to-day basis, and why is it important to talk about it? Like for me also, checking blood sugar every day, managing the food, counting, working on my career, everything can lead to a burnout on so many days. So how is it in children, if you could throw some light on that?
Yeah, definitely. I would like to speak on it. So basically, when a child or any of the person with the peer groups or an adult get to know that he is a he just recently got type 1 diabetic, the challenges like first is like anxiety, the stress level increases, they get panic. now how you're supposed to manage the things, because it's like from a daily schedule you have to have a multiple of changes into your lifestyle and everything, from eating habits, sleeping pattern, many things goes on. But especially
Yeah.
with the kids, it comes like it becomes like of how you're going to face the challenge in the same peer groups. That's a
Yeah.
basically challenge. And then more on that, even the parents start getting panic. So here it becomes a very important role of a parents, and how you're going to support the child, how you have to come over the challenge, how you're going to educate the child. First is very important of acceptance, coming
Correct.
across, creating a safe environment, how to educating the child about the how to come over things and make it into a acceptance of making things more into an easier way, not making it a
Right.
difficult way, but how to accept and handle their child into a better living. So this is what I
Yeah.
guess we can discuss about things further.
Right, right. No, makes so much sense because when a child is diagnosed, their entire like world changes. It's a 360-degree, turn, and also it's new for parents and everybody in that ecosystem. So how can parents identify early signs of anxiety, burnout, and depression? Because sometimes it's different during diagnosis, and once they've had diabetes for a while, it can lead to different kind of anxiety, burnout, and also how could parents identify these signs?
Okay, so basically, when the child is having type 1 diabetes, or if you're talking about further about neurodiverse, the
Mm-hmm.
child starts withdrawing the social contacts. Okay, the child prefer to sit alone or stay alone with the things why he is not able to express himself, right? The
Right.
thing is that the child gets a stigma or the society stigma, what will the people will say, okay, how you're going
Mm-hmm.
to come up. He will be restricted to many things. He's not able to handle the situation of hypo and hyper symptoms else. And moreover, when they're trying to come across of management thing, they also find it that it becomes very extreme of finding to control their day-to-day life. Okay.
Correct.
So when you're coming across day-to-day life is like when you start accepting the things, the routine setup, you're bringing the
Yeah.
changes. Okay, so it's like when you practice, it's not going to bring a change within 1 or 2 days. It is a continuous process. There should be a
Yeah.
consistency. So
Right.
coming across, teaching the child, okay, if there is a withdrawal. So when you're trying to express, you have to teach the child how to express. Coming across
Yeah.
of explaining the things, keeping an open communication. Okay, if the child is having anxiety, so how you're going to give the space of not letting the child, okay, saying it's okay, ho jayega. It's like, okay, if you have multiple things of sugar fluctuating, how you know to manage the things, and also
Right.
making aware with the society and the environment. The more you make the society and environment comfortable and aware of it, it helps the child in better management.
Right, right. I think schools can generally get very difficult for children also in their different phases of their growth. With this
Right.
added pressure of type 1, I'm sure that it's very complex for them to figure it out easily often. So there are like all of these different patterns that you mentioned right now, withdrawal, mood swings, and all of these. These could have a lot of, these could possibly lead to neurodivergence also. But before we get into that topic, I just want to talk about what is neurodivergent. Neurodivergence in mental or neurological function from what is considered typical or normal. So this is sort of a spectrum in which children might fall, and oftentimes these small patterns that we see of mental health can lead to these certain traits. So as I seep into it, could any of these behavior patterns lead to neurodivergence in children with type 1, such as ADHD or autism, and what are the different types of ADHD and autism? If you can talk a little about that. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll explain you the terms of it. So basically, ADHD has three types. Okay, so I'll just try to explain you that how you can figure out the behavior pattern of the child.
Mm-hmm.
Is definitely the child into the neurodivergent, and which also can come across to figure out with type 1 children also. So basically, first type is inattentive type. Okay, the child will find it very difficult in focusing the things. He will find it forgetfulness. Okay, and more of the time it is like disorganized. Now, what is disorganized? Now, suppose if the child is, suppose he is, for example, in the classroom settings,
Mm-hmm.
you find that you have to remove a particular book. Okay, he will try to remove all the plenty of books. He'll remove 4 5 books together.
Mm.
Okay, and then plus if you have to just remove a pencil or eraser, he'll remove entire box. He will not keep it in an organized way. That is called as disorganized. Even most of the time, what we have a habit of taking out few things out of the bag, you'll remove one particular thing and you'll zip it up. They
Okay.
won't zip that again. So almost they are like inattentive. They are a little bit of careless. Okay, that is what has been mentioned. But it's actually not careless. It's like they need pre-instructions to be given. Okay, this is
Oh,
first type called as inattentive type.
okay.
Uh, and it's often seen in boys, and girls are missed out because most of the time what happens, we just tend to shout at them. Okay,
Mm.
so it's not like it's only seen in the boys, but it's also seen in girls as well. Then second type is hyperactive impulsive type. Consist movement. Okay, the child will need a movement. The child cannot sit. He will be restless all the time. He will be very impulsive. Like after 15 10 minutes, you must be hearing from many of the parents saying that my child cannot sit at all. They just label as saying that okay, this child is hyperactive. Okay, but why he is, we should understand the need of the child because his brain neuron is completely different. He needs that break after 10 15 minutes. He needs that movement for the break. Okay, so
Okay.
normally if any of the child, or if I come across observing a child in the classroom, so after 15 minutes I prefer to give a child a movement. It might be just giving stretching exercise or making the child walk the staircase or just giving a round movement or making him do some kind of exercise. So what is happening from head to toe, you're giving some of the movement to the child where he is relaxing, and after 5 10 minutes the child can come across and sit. Now, your important thing is that this first step, as we have explained, there is one inattentive, then second is hyperactive impulsivity, then third it's like a combination of both mix.
Mm.
So these are time where we come across to check whether definitely the child is hyperactive and all. And sometimes here an important note is that the child development or neurotypical child are not supposed to be given any kind of packet foods, okay,
Okay.
and sugary products, because it helps, not helps, but actually it makes more child more hyperactive. It becomes more restless. So we should avoid these kind of foods for the kids as well.
Noted. Okay, this is, I will just go through the three types once again. Inattentive type, second is hyperactive impulsive type, and third is combined type. So these are
Correct.
the traits and examples that Sanjeevani has pointed out. What about autism? Like it's often called a spectrum, but what are the levels that we could divide this spectrum into?
Okay, so autism, if you have to find out exactly, so there are three types of, three levels of it. Okay, so first level we will count as a mild. Okay, the child needs little supportive. Okay, it needs little support and it struggles with social thing. Okay, then second is like moderate. It actually needs more supports. Okay, and it has difficulty in communication and has behavior pattern. And third level is severe. Okay, so at least
Okay.
the child needs more support, and there are two type of it. Like in
Mhm.
autism, if you want to figure out, there is a repetitive behavior.
I see.
Okay, the child on a severe level might be a communicable child, means he can speak, a non-verbal child also. So there are two things where we have to figure out in the third level. uh, in autism, where you have to figure out whatever you're speaking, the child will repeat it again and again. So that is the first time where we come across. Or else if the child is playing, he will try to play with the, if he's playing with the car, he will tend to see a wheels of it and he will start playing it. Okay,
Ah,
and
okay.
moreover he will show behavior. Now what are the behavior? It's called like making sounds. Some of this, the child is just screaming, so you're just holding the child making calm, that won't help. That is where the child is
Okay.
unable to express himself and he wants a space to let it out. So that's called
Right.
a stimming behavior. So like how are we going to come across the child with these behavior is, we'll be talking about it. But three types, three levels of it is like mild, moderate and severe.
Okay, okay, great. This is a good start to the workshop, just understanding what autism and ADHD is. I would like to
Right.
ask the attendees today, the participants, whoever, is this space okay for everybody? Or does anybody have any questions so far? We would love to take them, go through a topic again or anything. I could use a thumbs up if the pace is okay. If everybody can just let me know. We have a hello from a lot of people. We have Surbi saying hello, Sajan saying hello, Vijay, hi.
Okay.
I guess if everything is okay, then we'll go ahead. Amazing. So now that we've identified these two neuro divergent, issues and spectrums, is there any correlation between type 1 diabetes and neurodivergent traits or learning difficulties?
Okay. So as we come across when it comes to diabetes management, we understand when our sugar levels starts fluctuating. Okay.
Mhm.
Our brain definitely starts like we need that much of space, or we need some time to process. Okay.
Right.
It becomes very difficult for us to understand or go to the certain things. So,
Mhm.
sometimes when our sugar is getting on a lower side, we take at least 10 to 15 minutes or 20 minutes. It
Right.
depends to person to person. Some person might take 15 minutes, some person might take half an hour to settle down. But
Correct.
if this is a continuous of episode happening all the time, then it will
Mm-hmm.
definitely affect your brain functioning, which will like affect the cognition level. And it
Right.
might come across with some of the neurodiversity like called as learning difficulty also. I'll explain
Mm-hmm.
about it. Okay,
Right.
so in functioning and all. So ADHD and autism that we have come across understanding what is the differences between it and what are the types of it and what are the levels of it. But
Mm-hmm.
this could also lead ahead, which I'll explain right now. So the thing is when you start, as I spoke, like you start getting confused at some of the time, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and it becomes very difficult for us to process in particular thing. Okay, I think I'll speak a little bit of Hindi also so that other people also understand in
Yes.
a
Yes.
point of view.
Totally.
सो कभी कभी ऐसा होता है कि बच्चों को हम देखते हैं कि हम कई बार ऐसे लेबल किया जाता है बच्चों को वो बहुत लेजी है वी आर
Mm-hmm.
नॉट अंडरस्टैंडिंग कि यार ये बच्चा लेजी नहीं है एक्चुअली उसे कुछ दिक्कत हो रही है उसे प्रोसेसिंग इशू हो रहा है तो अभी लर्निंग डिफिकल्टी क्या होती है अभी जब से कोविड सिचुएशन आया तो तब से ऑटिज्म और एडीएचडी का अवेयरनेस काफी बढ़ गया है बट दैट इज वन ऑफ द ऑल्सो रीजन कि क्योंकि हमें एजुकेशन स्टॉप नहीं कर सकते थे राइट तो उस
Correct.
वजह से द चिल्ड्रन वर एक्सेस टू कमिंग टूवर्ड्स डिजिटलाइजेशन उसकी वजह से काफी बच्चे का यूजर्स ऑफ डिजिटल काफी हुआ है इसकी वजह से क्या हुआ है कि एडीएचडी और ऑटिज्म के स्पेक्ट्रम ज्यादा बढ़ गए हैं अभी अगर बच्चे ने रेगुलर स्कूल अटेंड किया है तो उसे ये चैलेंजेस काफी टाइम फेस नहीं करना पड़ा है सो वी
Mm-hmm.
कैन नॉट से कि बच्चे को लर्निंग डिफिकल्टी है वी हैव टू ऑब्जर्व एटलीस्ट 3 to 6 months हमें ये देखना पड़ेगा कि डेफिनेटली चाइल्ड को लर्निंग डिफिकल्टी या फिर प्रोसेसिंग इशू हो रहा है या एडीएचडी या ऑटिज्म है हाउ यूल फिगर आउट कि नॉर्मली जब बच्चों को दिक्कत होती है समझने को सो लाइक वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट मेंटल हेल्थ सो if you're not able to cope up with anything the first thing is you have fear हमें डर लगना स्टार्ट हो जाता है एंजाइटी होता है पैनिक अटैक होता है शिवरिंग होता है पैल्पिटेशन होता है सो ये काफी चीजें होना स्टार्ट होता है पर अगर हमने कोई प्रोसेस या रेमिडल बेसिस अगर बच्चे को समझ में आया कि रीडिंग एंड राइटिंग में डिफिकल्टी हो रही है देयर आर रेमिडल स्ट्रेटेजीज कैन बी अप्लाइड after applying for few months, maximum 1 or 2 or 3 months when you're applying these remedial strategies, if you find changes, then we won't say that the child is having learning difficulty. But still, the child is writing the letters in reversible.
Mm.
ओके रिवर्सिबल मतलब कभी कभी बच्चा लेटर्स उल्टा लिखता है
Correct.
ठीक है
Correct.
या फिर कोई वर्ड्स
D
मिस
का
आउट कर
D हो जाता है, all of these
राइट
literally.
वो WMQRP सो देर आर मेनी लेटर्स दे मेक मिस्टेक्स सो इसे हम क्या कहते हैं डिसलेक्सिया कहते हैं आपने मूवी देखा होगा तारे जमी पे सो दैट
Yes.
इज वन ऑफ द एग्जाम्पल ओके तो द चिल्ड्रन आर नॉर्मल बट द वे ऑफ लर्निंग एंड टीचिंग देम इज इन अ डिफरेंट वे मोर इन अ विजुअल फॉर्मेट अ स्टोरी फॉर्मेशन उनको
Mm-hmm.
सिंप्लीफाई नहीं करते हैं okay, so this is one type where we have come across about dyslexia is one where the child is facing difficulty in reading and writing.
Correct.
Second is called as dyscalculia. Now dyscalculia मतलब maths में difficulty हो रही है with calculation and all. Then comes dysgraphia. So dysgraphia is like when the child is having difficulty like slow writer हम कभी कभी labelize करते हैं कि
Mhm.
हमने काफ़ी उनको ट्राई किया है कि राइटिंग टेक्निक यूज़ किया है नॉट, बट प्रेफरिंग इफ यू कम अक्रॉस ऑब्जर्विंग कि द चाइल्ड इज स्टिल फेसिंग डिफिकल्टी इन राइटिंग, इट्स बेटर टू प्रेफर refer to a psychologist first to do an assessment, and then it can be taken further with a physiotherapist or an occupational therapist. So there are few type of exercise or a support system given to the child so that it helps the child in the writing pattern.
Correct. Okay, amazing. Before we move ahead, we have a question here, and we ask more, people to come and participate and ask questions. So, Akanksha has two questions. Ayan is 8, and he was recently diagnosed. He's become generally very irritable and cranky. How do we deal with this situation? I
Okay,
think I can answer it a little bit and I can pass it on to Sanjeevni.
sure.
I'm sure this is a recent diagnosis and I can speak from my personal experience. When I was diagnosed, my blood sugars were still on the higher side because I was trying to figure out what works for me and what sort of patterns work for me, what sort of insulin doses work for me. So when these fluctuations and these high sugars were more frequent during the diagnosis, I was very irritable and cranky. And hopefully, when in few months when he'll figure out his patterns and are growing, it should settle. But let's hear a more clinical perspective from Sanjeevni.
So basically, right now, as Shreya just mentioned, it is actually when the child is recently joined, he will definitely have many of emotions, feelings going on, and for that thing, he has to manage. So, in a counselor way, what I will suggest is like we have to accept and make it more rewarding system. Okay, for like how is rewarding system, like what we say of modification of behavior pattern, when we say we have to change the routine of daily schedules. So for that, I would like to share one of the picture if possible. Just let me know if you are able to see. Is it possible?
Yeah, I think you'll have to turn off the background for the chart to be visible. You can
Okay,
also,
what I'll do it, I'll share in the group itself.
yes, I
So
think you can do that.
basically
On Facebook and WhatsApp, we will share this
the
poster.
thing. So basically, it is like a rewarding system. Like when you set a visual schedule, you have to set a visual schedule for the child. Normally, when you schedule a thing that, okay, what is the first thing you have to do from the daily routine, how you have to set. So if the child is doing a particular task, like the first thing is like pricking particular which point he has to prick. That is where you have to explain the child how you have to maintain the hygiene part. So teaching them in a more positive reinforcement will definitely help the child to upcome with the stress level of the child. And when he is doing a particular task, now suppose if he is doing the pricking part, he is maintaining, seeing the glucose level, let him give a chance of taking a decision.
Uh,
Okay, like how he is supposed to manage. What happens most of
right,
the time, it is like we parents are first of all we get too much of panic, and what we do, we always want to control the child by giving them the, okay, what he has to do. Always is better to redirect the child. How you're going to redirect that? By forming a visual schedule. If you're doing 4 tasks, then this is the reward. Now what are the type of rewards you can give? You can give, okay, 5 minutes, 10 minutes of the thing what he or she likes, like a sticker kind of thing you can give, or a game thing you can give, or an art and craft thing you can give, or the food what they like. Seeing, monitoring the sugar levels, not about the child is asking sugar packet, so you're just giving any of the thing. So handling situation is very important. By understanding step by step into small giving instruction will definitely help. Instead of giving too much instruction to the child, it's always specifically giving short instruction. That's just what I feel.
correct, correct. I think being diagnosed with diabetes comes with like losing your autonomy, right? Because now I can't make decisions on my food. It's all dependent on these numbers. And it can be
Right.
so difficult for a child to navigate this. And like you said, as a parent, even you are very overwhelmed. So that whole system is sort of taking it slow, understanding what patterns work for the child and for you as the parents. There's one more
Yes.
question that Diane is going to start a full day school in 3 weeks for the first time since his type 1 diagnosis. And we're a little anxious about how we should manage everything. If you can share some tips or things to note. Amazing. I think we're going to get into that very topic very soon. We'll answer that specifically, but let us know if the upcoming questions do that already. So let's get into the next sort of question. Now we spoke about all of these different neurodivergent traits and different sort of uh, issues that may come up in social situations. So how can hypo or hypers mimic or show certain learning or behavioral challenges, if it's short term or if it's long term? How do hypos and hypers sort of mimic these, and how do we identify that these are simply because of the hypo, or they could be separate issue altogether?
Okay, so as I said that ADHD and autism or behavior issues, it is like observing at least for a month of the thing. Okay,
Yeah.
but continuous of fluctuation will definitely show behavior issues, like the child is unable to focus on particular thing, he is always inattentive. Okay,
Hmm.
and then it becomes difficult for the child to go with the process of understanding. Okay, he's not
Right.
able to cope up with the syllabus thing. So when the
Right.
child is unable to manage the things.
Mhm.
So why it happens is most of the time, when the child is being restricted to certain kind of food, or has been restricted to going from the washroom, or lack of peer support in the class, so
Mm.
that creates more and more of isolation with the child, then missing of the classes also. So when you educate or bring out to a system where you are giving certain kind of information of the child, making a safe environment, and also educating the school environment, as a parents first you need to educate yourself and not get panic, and then creating a safe environment for the school, and educating the peers also, the friend circles, and how
Right.
you can help them, will definitely come across. How you going to manage is the thing, when you are regularly attending few of the workshops, and when you are having very platform, like we have this WhatsApp group or Facebook pages, where we come across that what are the foods we need to take, what are the
Yeah.
hypo things when you're going to manage things. When you're educating the child more on the things, it becomes more easy for to have a better living for the child.
Yeah.
Fluctuations is the main thing where we need to see that it is being managed. But once the child is aware of sugar levels, what he has to eat at the right time, it will definitely help, so that he don't have any cognition functioning difficulty then.
Yeah. I think Sanjeevani, you rightly said, like we have these platforms where there's Facebook, WhatsApp groups, Instagram community, where we're constantly discussing, putting comments, and having these conversations for children about creating safe spaces. So that's one place where we urge, which Blue Circle has created for people to come and ask their questions and discuss these things. So more and more conversation is there. You learn from lived experiences, and you really feel that help from the community, especially for parents, I think. So,
Yeah, so that
yeah, sorry.
so like when we have this meetup, there are like many students and other peer groups also. Instead of just parents
Correct.
meeting, I feel like more of children also coming
Children
together,
are also coming.
discussing their situation, discussing over. Because last time when we had one of the meetup, so we had
Mhm.
number of kids. So that
Yeah,
time it was
yeah.
very happy to have a good interaction, seeing the children instead of
Right, right,
being
right.
an adult, explaining how they are going to handle. They were discussing, and we were about to learn from them.
Yeah,
Okay, this was the same situation. One or two child had a situation where she was not able to inject herself. But the way they were motivating each other to come across that fear and anxiety and educating themselves is like coming across, having that social
yeah.
networking, coming and meeting is very important. So I would like to
Correct,
say that
correct.
parents, please do come, get your children also, so that you'll also will
Right.
understand how they will be able to manage themselves.
Yeah, and I think we do like lots of different activities which children enjoy. There's potlucks where they can learn about food from others and learn recipes and stuff. We have these runs that we do because of the rains. I don't know how often we'll do that, but we have these coffee meetups, so different kinds of meetups that are organized, and it's very. I've seen it, and it's very nice for the child to meet another child living with type 1. They're also taking their shot, and they're also carb counting and eating their meals, managing. So it's a lovely experience for them to have community since they're diagnosed.
Definitely.
Right. Okay, so before we get into strategies, that we can at home. We have one more question that it's difficult for him to from Akanksha. She's talking about her son. It's difficult for him to eat only things that work according to sugar level. He's struggling with control because he's a foodie. So we completely understand this. Just a little point. I am a big foodie, and it's difficult for the child. But I let Sanjeevani add her little two bits because she's also been a type one for a very long time.
So here, as I said, starting it is a definitely a challenge for the child. Okay. So how he is going to monitor coming out the first of all how his body functioning, what food is accepting him. So that is where we need to figure out. I guess there are few recipes and all we can definitely try on it. Monitoring is very important. Unless you monitor for at least 1 2 3 weeks, I'll always definitely say that consistency is very important. Unless you go through it, we cannot
Yes.
just find a drastic change. So if you start finding the sugar level of the child and what kind of food is definitely spiking up the sugar, making a note is very important,
Mhm.
because suggesting us like eat this particular thing, different type of diabetic body functioning is different. So once you start making a note, any of us from the team will definitely get back to you, and we can make a track of what is suitable for the child to get on the back track. But I guess
Yes.
definitely it is going to take 3 weeks definitely to have a proper reading or account and what suits better for the child.
Yes. Amazing. So we can now get into the strategies of handling these situations of neurodivergence or mental health in two important spaces where the child spends most of the time, which is home and their schools. So we must make sure that these two spaces are safe for children. And we can, I think, start with what strategies can parents use at home to support a child who is neurodiverse or is facing any mental health issues.
Okay, so basically, like again, repeatedly, I'm saying the thing is that when you are diagnosed with type 1 or any circumstance challenge you're facing, the first thing is you need to make a routine set, a proper routine. When it comes to a child, the child is more a visual kind learner. Okay, so when you schedule the things step by step, if you have a particular task like getting up from the morning, main of the child is like after COVID situation, even the school timings has been changed. If you come across, like we were starting the school by 8 o'clock, but 9 now after COVID, the school for the pre-primary children coming to the second primary level, the school timing is from 9 o'clock. So when this time change, it's very important to fix a schedule. You have to set a proper schedule, and how it's going to come across by setting a visual schedule. Now what is visual schedule is basically now suppose getting up in the morning, that's becoming a challenge, like getting up early in the morning, brushing your teeth, having a bath. It's a major complaint where you find missing of the school also happens. So sleep pattern has to be also set up. Visual schedule is like making a chart where you are placing a picture for the child and with one word. Now suppose waking up, you're saying the child repeatedly get up, get up, get up. Getting after nagging behind is not going to definitely work for the child. मेरा बच्चा सुनता नहीं है, क्योंकि ये आपने फिक्सेशन कर दिया है बच्चों के लिए कि ये नहीं करने वाला. Instead of
Mhm.
that, you miss for 1 or 2 days, fix a schedule for the child, saying that every time you're going to get up, it's your responsibility, it is your body, you need to work on itself.
Mhm.
Definitely, parents have to be there consistency, but minimize more of the instruction and giving less instruction is definitely going to help out. Second step, as I said, it's giving clear instructions, not giving more of instruction, but step by step, specific word has to be very important.
Mhm.
Okay. And when you are coming across the efforts, okay, the child is not doing 1 or 2 days, but it has to go with the consistency. But when the child is achieving a small thing, you have to have a effort of outcome, you should celebrate it. Okay, wow. So you have to appreciate. The child needs more of appreciation. If you're not appreciating the child, then you won't find the result. So it is very important.
Yes,
When you're having a visual schedule with clear, specific instruction, that definitely the child will listen to you.
correct.
Okay, this is the third thing. Fourth important thing is giving the child a calm down corner. Sometimes it's like where you're giving particular instruction, the child is not interested in listening. he shows the tantrums. Okay, he will start shouting, screaming, anger, anything. So that time, instead of getting after the child, shouting, screaming, just give him that space out.
Yeah.
Okay, and teaching him a different kind of calming activities. Now there are few activities like butterfly exercises there where you know how to breathe. Second thing is like you can use a soft music. Some children definitely love music if they have sensory
Mm.
overload. And what is sensory overload? That they don't like noise. Some of the kids will just shut
Yeah.
their ears. So that time is always preferred to give them a space where there is no sound, nothing. 15
Yeah.
minutes. Tell him just process with the thing. Take your own time. When you feel better, you can come back.
Right.
Okay. So that definitely works. And or else noise cancellation device. So normally what happens when you're giving this noise cancellation device, the outside source is not affecting the child. And it
Mm.
helps them to self-focus on them easily.
Right.
Okay, and positive reinforcement is that is what we call that. If you show positivity, accepting all the things and teaching him, redirecting it. So very
Yeah.
important is key instruction, first important. Second is redirecting. Instead of telling the child not to do, is always preferred to tell the child what
Mm.
he has to do in the correct way.
Right.
Yes.
Amazing. I think these are so important. And this reminds me of Akanksha's comment where she says she's going to try to create a chart by some task. Like all of these
Okay.
steps, also as a game designer, I can think of that all these three, four things are also important in game design. And if you could create a play with the child, and I think not just the child, often the entire family has to change. Like when I got diagnosed, everybody else started eating healthy, so it's similar that everybody else has to start following a pattern. So when the child sees, the child does. So it could be turned into a game of sorts also. Okay, now we're going
Involvement
to
is
talk.
very important. That is what I feel. The more you get involved with the child participation, just not giving instruction, but
Yes.
your participation and involvement brings a big difference, a
Right, right.
change. Yes.
I think 100%. So, what kind of accommodations or support should schools ideally provide for children with type 1 or children living on the spectrum? So, this is a very important question. Like, first, I think we'll talk about it generally in the sense of living as a type 1 diabetic also. When I went to college, I had told my faculty and my peers about type 1 diabetes. That's like the most important thing. So, for a child to be allowed to carry snacks and food at all times in classrooms, we have heard stories where children have not been allowed to have snacks or take their insulin shot because it's often brushed off as a tantrum or a child asking for attention. So, we must make sure that these things are taken care of, or the low snacks or glucose checks and the glucometers, insulin, cooling pouches, everything is allowed in the thing. Uh, Besides that, access to washrooms and access to water at all times, because these are like basic things which typans need to sort of navigate their day. And besides, just these little things, like I said, it's often brushed off as a tantrum for children. And I've heard stories where children have, people of type 1 of my age, they've told me that they were not allowed to take insulin at a certain point, or they were not allowed to use the washroom. And that can be so scarring for the child when they have the actual need. So, for us to create a safe environment, there are two, three things that we do in Blue Circle. One is that there have been guidelines by the government and for provisions for children living with type 1, which is during the tests, they get to carry their hypo snacks and they get permission to use the washroom. The other thing is that at Blue Circle, we conduct awareness programs with schools so that they're more inclusive spaces. Like we once conducted this awareness program in a residential school next to Pune, which can be a difficult space, and they had to like decline admissions to children living with type 1. And of course, it can be complex, even though there is a nurse on ground and all, it can be complex to understand type 1. But once the environment gets past that learning curve, a child can live normally, in that space. That's one. And third is that we have a letter format for tests and generally school environments, and a space for parents to add any other additional information they might want. Some children have celiac along with type 1, or thyroid along with type 1. So, that extra information can also be added in this letter and sent to your class teachers and principals in the school. So, Akanksha, like you said, your son is about to start school. This would be a great thing for you to take this letter format from us, fill it in according to you, and actually circulate it in the school. And the other thing is, we could conduct an awareness program for the school as well. So the teachers, other students, everybody is sort of aware about type 1. I'll pass it on to Sanjivani for talking about the individual education planning and other accommodations that a child might need.
Definitely. So, as we come across my topic on ADHD and autism, so basically, when you come across the behavior pattern, observing the things, the first thing is that being a teacher is that first person and a parents to come across what are the behavior pattern they have come across. Okay, and with the help of support system, they can always take a support from the school by a counselor or a pediatric doctor who can refer them. And what are the IEP plans? I will discuss about it. So IEP plan is known as individual education planning. Now, when we have come across that the child is having a behavior pattern or any cognition difficulty or learning difficulty if he's facing, so the inclusive school or the CBSE pattern has given this provision of IEP after the child has been diagnosed with certain thing, then they get a recommendation of letter away. The provision has been provided. So what are the type of provisions? So I'll discuss about it. So IEP plan is like we design a format of curriculum, okay, where the syllabus of the child has, there is vast syllabus, okay, in CBSE and all. So what we do, we try to reduce the syllabus for the child, understanding what is his IQ level, and then we cut off the few of the syllabus in it. Okay, it differs to school and their rules and regulations. But if you go with the 504 plan, it's actually been applied in foreign countries, not in India. But few of the school are taking the ownership of it by designing their own curriculum, understanding the better need of the child. So when you come across with learning difficulty, if the child is having reading, writing difficulty, so in that the first thing was like if they have done a proper assessment, if they have that certification of the child that it's been diagnosed, what school is providing is giving them extra time for writing, or else second you have a reader or writer which is provided by the school itself. Okay, then it is like if still the child is facing difficulty even by providing the teacher or a support system, the other thing is that the child has been given reducing of the syllabus which the child can give in a format of, now suppose if the child has to write a big answer, so we can cut down to writing the answer into the short level or else into MCQ type questions. Okay, so that helps the child. We are not stopping the education system to stop the child from educating, but we are giving the way, the pattern the child is able to cope up with the syllabus. That is one of the pattern. Giving extra time is again what I'm saying, it's important. Third thing is that still if the parents wish the child to have a education in inclusive school, and the child is unable to understand the processing thing. Now when you come out with ADHD and autism, if the child is continuous moving, so one teacher cannot manage the child at all, okay,
Yeah.
because she has to manage 40 students. So that time, now the thing is that you can have a support system of having a shadow teacher. In school there will be a definite special educator, but shadow teacher is the one person who will be there in one-on-one thing, where she will be giving pre-instructions all the time, because a class teacher cannot give pre-instruction regularly, right?
Okay.
So when you have a shadow teacher, she is the right person who will be there to support the child, giving a particular instruction, making the notes more in a easy format. If the child is not able to understand big lesson, she can take that space, teach him in an individual way. So these are the provision support which can be given in the school premises in the inclusive format. This is what is IEP is all about.
Okay, amazing. I think a lot of schools should start adapting it, even if it's not through this exact planning. I hope that this increases and there are more inclusive learning spaces in India, so that all types of children can be accommodated. Okay, I would like to ask any viewers to ask questions that they have, or if this space has been fine, if there's anything else that you missed and you want to hear again, we could talk about it. So please feel free to ask these questions and drop your comments. And it's also like important to, I mean it would be great for the viewers to sort of ask these questions now, because in discussion a lot of things are answered for other parents as well. So it would be great to hear questions from everyone. Meanwhile, we can sort of end with one message that I would like Sanjeevni to give, a message that you would like to leave with parents and educators about neurodiverse children.
So I would not say that the child is different, but every child is unique. Okay, they have their own strength. So we just have to find out what is the exact potential of the child. What are they good at? Okay, we have to find what is the potential of the child by not called as a problem. With the
Mhm.
right support and understanding, they can definitely work on the academic skill,
Yeah.
social skill, and emotionally. So our main motto as a society, okay, we have to create a very, very important as this like building up into a good environment, building up
Yeah.
their strength and not fixing them into a weakness. Okay,
Yeah.
because there is nothing difference and nothing less than a child has more potential. You have to just figure out what is the right potential of the child and how you can support and lead him ahead, which is very
Absolutely.
important.
Yeah.
And
And I,
nowadays and
sorry,
nowadays,
please.
the thing is, the thing of ADHD and autism has been raised up, as I mentioned in starting, after COVID situation, and in futuristic is going to rise up a more. And we also the platform why we have kept this session is so that we all understand what is ADHD and autism, and also how it can affect in a type 1 diabetic. Sometimes we
Yeah.
just leave it across saying that labelizing it is lazy, but it's not actually lazy. It is how you need to figure out and how you need to work on it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think the same, sentence that you added, which is building strengths and not just fixing the weaknesses. It goes for
Hmm.
every child living with type 1. There's so many stories of children being restricted to do certain things and doing, but they absolutely can do anything and everything. We just need to
Hmm.
create spaces that accommodate them, and they'll flourish like any other child would. So that's very
Yes.
important.
I guess most of the topic we have covered, but I also would like to
Yes.
give one more information, add on the things that, like now, inclusive or what we say in NCRT or
Mhm.
NEP has got
Mhm.
many of the changes into the
Right.
education system. There
Correct.
are few things that some schools are adapting or they are following things, but some schools have their own restrictions, so they are not going ahead. So I would
Mhm.
like to also introduce you about there are many schools from past 2 3 years have started with
Mhm.
NIS board. It's called as National Institute of Open Schooling. Okay,
Right. Right.
so as we were discussing, till the seventh grade, there is not an issue of any board exam. You can the
Correct.
school can decide how to cut off the syllabus and all by providing the proper documentations of testing.
Correct.
Then the school will definitely give you support. But NIS, I would like to give information why because many are not aware of it. That's in National Institute of Open Schooling, where
Right.
from third grade, fifth, so there are three levels.
Mhm.
Okay, in that the child, if the child is facing difficulty, if you come across with a dyslexic child or he's
Right.
facing difficulty in science or
Right.
maths, he can skip those subject and take a subject called as arts or computers or music. So they
Mhm.
have another activity curriculum basis subject where we are not stopping the education system, but we are supporting and moving ahead. And further,
Right.
it's not having an issue. Slowly, this is also being applied in CBSE pattern. It's going to take time for
Right.
three
Right.
years, but if you have an option, just remember there is an option called as NOS board, and many of the school are taking for it. If you want your child is facing difficulty, so never be stressful about it. You all can definitely ask the school thing that do you have this provision of NIS board, or they can
Yes.
refer
Yes.
the
Yes.
schools that can help the child.
Correct. I think we have a few questions over here. Asif has asked that his child is a type 1. He's 6-year-old and he wants to learn how to manage in school time. This would be a good opportunity to share with everyone that schools are starting very soon in mid-June. So before that, we have a workshop coming up next weekend, which is specifically about how to manage type 1 diabetes in schools. So we are going to be speaking about this, and I urge all the parents in today's comments and or attending this workshop to join next week as well. And it's going to be very specific to schools and managing type 1 diabetes in schools. There's one more question from Akanksha that schools should support. I think we have a long way to go, absolutely, before they even understand how to deal with children who have different needs. There's also one more worry that Akanksha has, that what if the child is bullied in the school? And even parents and teachers are unaware of what type 1 is, and how should we teach our kids to deal with such specific bullying? I think before I pass it on to Sanjeevani to answer this, it's like we say that the environment has to be kind enough. Every time we cannot have the child, we cannot add that whole burden of resilience on the child to fight the bullying, but the environment. So like I said, there are three things that we're doing. One is awareness programs. So each and every child also listens about it, the teachers do, and eventually they create a safe space, because we when we go for these awareness programs, we are also people living with type 1. So we talk about lived experiences, and that creates an impact full of empathy, which is what we've seen as an outcome at different schools. So that is one way to go about it. Other is bullying is a separate issue in schools that needs to be dealt with, and type 1 could be one very you know big area where bullying can happen. Sanjeevani, if you want to add to this answer.
Yeah, for this, like as Shreya just spoke about the things that the school environment is like the child cannot handle everything by himself. It's about like how you create a safe environment by educating and having a good communication with the team of the school, making them
Mhm.
aware of the thing, and also teach. Now coming with the bullying part, like being a counselor, it's like always prefer to consult a counselor there, where she will definitely take in charge of explaining the situation, coming across the things how to handle, and they can have a good peer buddy discussion exactly what are the challenge and educating them. So there are workshops like where as our team is taking workshop, plus the counselor itself also sometimes if the child is having with type 1 diabetic, the counselor goes into their class and keeps a particular session for them to discuss and how the pair can help them and what are the things to be taken care of, like what things should be avoided, what bullying things should not be taken, not just based with a type 1, but in normal cases also they teach in a message should be passed in a way that it helps
Yeah,
the child into a positive outcome. So many of the counselors do that thing. I guess
yeah.
it would be definitely helpful if you just connect with your one of the counselor in the school if you have definite, or the coordinator. Most of the time, if they don't have a counselor, there are the coordinators who are being trained as a counselor, and they definitely work on it.
Right, right. And I think besides the school, we could do an awareness program for the parents also. If there's any sort of event that you can organize, and we would love to like come and conduct this for schools, so that this really helps the whole environment, teachers, children, parents. We give away flyers along with the awareness programs, which actually come with all the symptoms of type 1 also. So if this also reaches the parents, it just becomes a stronger community.
Yes, true. Any more questions?
We could wait for a couple of minutes.
So right now, even here the question was like the June month. Now normally the rain is starting in the month of May itself, so autoimmune systems will definitely get affected. It's
Yeah,
about how do you manage about taking the right amount of food, seeing the thing of so just figure out the what are the right amount food you're taking. So
yeah,
it's very important. So it's like first we have more 2 weeks of time to school to start,
yeah,
so just jotting out the things key what suits your body is correct way of analyzing. When I was in school, I will definitely like to share things. Even I faced major of issues. As a
Mhm.
parents and teachers, I've got a good support in school. So they used to educate my classmates. They used to get the tiffins. They used to share the things. Okay, this she
Right.
has got diabetic. So come on, let's try food that doesn't increase the carb. Normally, what we understand as a kid when we are small, that only by eating sugar, our sugar is spicing. But other carbohydrates, what we are taking, even that spikes out. There is where when you are educating the parents, when parents are getting along with other parents and educating the student, it becomes more safe environment. So sharing the recipes, or when you're coming across with the workshop and when we are meeting in the schools, it makes more awareness. It helps the child also to educate, and he feels more safe that okay, I'm not being differentiated. So I
Right.
guess some of the like normally what we are discussing here, that getting more of children of type 1 diabetes, we should also get the students of friend circle also, so that even they get educated and help them across managing in a easy way.
Right. Right. And I think food and health education is generally for everyone. So
Everyone.
um,
Yes.
this has been the thing that once you get diagnosed, the entire family chooses healthy. The entire
Hmm.
friend circle is become aware of healthy choices. So if he starts from school, it could only create a more positive environment, if nothing. Yeah.
Right. And even the parents should have more social contact and meet up rather than
Yes.
getting
Yes.
isolated. Because most of the time we are just saying that the child gets isolated, but it's like even the parents do get
Parents
isolated.
get
It's
isolated.
better. It's better that making them hide about things. It's about just educating, making them aware that social stigma should come across. It won't bring a change, but yes, definitely once we start accepting, yes, I have diabetes, my child has a
Yeah.
diabetes, and it's normal for it. If you normalize
Right.
this
Right.
thing,
Right.
it will bring a good positive impact then.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Amazing. I think we can wrap up today's session on this note.
Right. So on this, like our thing is like whenever we come across the things, as I mentioned, that we do conduct many of the sessions like workshops, we
Yeah.
have some activities and all. So though, so like from everyone from Blue Circle Foundation, I feel that everyone should keep on coming actively, have participations. The more you participate, you get more knowledge about things, how to manage things easy way.
Yeah.
Okay, it becomes easier way when you interact with people. And children is like when you come across with the children, they have many questions, many
Yeah.
questions. So being a parent, it becomes very difficult sometimes to answer all sort of questions. Rather than coming up with a meeting, interacting with the uh, of the same peer groups, it helps them to regulate their sugar levels, manage the things, and we can have many of the ahead workshops where children can be involved of making recipes and all.
Yeah.
So where we are giving, making them aware of the things and making them an individual way of self decision maker, not being
Yeah.
more dependent, but teaching them how you can become more independent and manage yourself.
Right. That sounds amazing. We should get into more, children focused workshops also, where they're involved in the actual uh, cooking and all of these things. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. Amazing. I think we can